Suma explained to me what and who the Grand Duke was. Basically, he was like a Prime Minister or a Supreme Court Justice. She told me that she had met with him a few days ago, the day of the attack, at the time I was at work. So that's what you wanted, I realised. That Grand Duke guy wanted to talk to me. Yes, Suma answered. He finds you interesting and wanted to meet with you in person. You don't think that he had anything to do with those nobles attacking you, do you? I wondered. I doubt it. The Grand Duke was elected on a platform of holding nobles accountable for their transgressions. In truth, he is not a popular figure in noble society. He has personally brought over 10 high-ranking nobles to justice, and spearheaded reforms in laws that gave more power to commoners and other non-nobles, Suma explained. Isn't he a noble? I asked. Well, yes, but technically no. He is from a noble family, but in order to become the Grand Duke, you have to give up any right to nobility, so that you can't be swayed by the promise of increasing your own riches. Imagine if a lord of a profitable area became the Grand Duke. He could just create laws that benefited him and weakened his opponents, she said. Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. I nodded that I understood. So, how do we get an appointment? I guess we go to the Royal Citadel and make an appointment, or maybe we'll get lucky, and he'll be available when we get there, she guessed. Okay, how far is it from here? I asked. For me, not far. For you, very far, she said, half joking, half being serious. Okay, you fly there and I will just wait, I guess, I suggested. Okay, see you in a bit, she said, and flew away. I looked around and then down at my sword and shield that I was still holding. What am I going to name you? I wondered to myself quietly. I sat on the ground and looked closely at the sword, admiring its craftsmanship and its fine edge. Excalibur? Maybe, but a bit on the nose. I pulled out my phone. It hadn't occurred to me to try and use it while in this world, mostly because I had assumed it wouldn't work. No bars, I said, seeing my utter lack of service. Too bad, that could have been pretty useful. I put my phone away and picked up the shield with my other hand, being sure to lay the sword down carefully so as not to scratch it. What about you? Maybe something simple and easy to remember, like just shield or wall? I decided to look up a few famous weapons from history when I got back home. Hey, Suma? I said, trying to contact her. Almost there, Jake. Not long now, she answered. Well, that's good, but not what I was wondering. I was trying to decide names for my new weapons. Any ideas from your country's history? I asked. Well, there are a few things that come to mind for your shield, but nothing for the sword, I'm afraid. My world has nothing like it, she said. What names do you have for the shield? Well, there is a story from our mythology about a man who used magic to create impenetrable walls of energy to protect his forces. His name was Azon of the Barrier, and the right he used was later named in his honour, Azon's Wall. Azon? Not bad, I acknowledged, interested in the name. What else? There was said to be a fortress that stood against a siege for a solid 2 years before it finally fell. It was called Fort Montac, she suggested. By the way, I'm here. Ready to go? I picked up the sword and shield. Ready. She summoned me, and I reappeared standing in front of a large triangular castle of sorts, with many important-looking guards and their familiars, waiting at the gates. Will I be allowed in there? I asked. I think so, she said hesitantly. They will probably just assume you are under my control. Sue perched on my shoulder. We walked up to the guards. One of them asked for our reason for entrance. We are attempting to schedule an appointment with the Grand Duke at his request. The guard she was talking to looked over at me. Keep this one on a tight leash, he said. Then they stepped aside and let us pass. They just let us pass? No papers, no further questions? Just a single question and in order to keep a familiar under control? I asked, amazed. The guards at the Citadel are said to be most powerful and well trained of all of the Grand Duke's armed forces, even more so than his own personal guards. If anyone tries to do something that they don't like, they won't be alive long enough to regret it, she explained, as we walked into the building. Noted, I said, looking around. It was a large open area with small perches dotted around certain places. It resembled the Grand Sanctum, the place where Suma made me her familiar, but somehow seemed more official and less sacred or ceremonial. We went up to a desk with a young Nume sitting behind it. She was about Suma's height, but rounder, with darker feathers, and a bit less sparkly. Hi, we are here to schedule an appointment with the Grand Duke, Suma stated. The Grand Duke asked us to, she added. Reason for visit? The other Nume asked, in a sweet, high-pitched voice. He requested to speak with me regarding my familiar. My name is Suma, Suma replied. Ah, of course. I was made aware that you might come by. The Grand Duke has made a special appointment time available for you if you are available in 3 days, the Nume told us. Will that work for you? Suma asked me. I nodded my head. I think so. I mean, you can freeze time or whatever when you summon me, so really I'm always free, I said jokingly. I saw the other Nume's face when I started talking, but she didn't speak up or anything. She just looked very surprised. Suma looked confused for a moment. I don't freeze time when I summon you.